Hi friends, I'm so glad you're here. Today I have 7 DIY Christmas projects that you can make. They're all budget friendly and a lot of fun to make. Let's get started. The first thing that we're going to make are paper ornaments. And the most important step for this project is the watercolor paper that you choose, or is the paper that you choose. I want you to choose watercolor paper because it's really heavy and durable, and it also has a texture so that when you apply these transfers, it's going to look as though they were painted on, maybe even by you, right? Applying a transfer is easy. All you do is separate the design from the main sheet, remove the white backing paper, lay the clear side down, and then use the tool and rub over that design until it's adhered all the way to the watercolor paper. You pull back the clear protective sheet, make sure that it's all adhered down completely. If not, lay the clear sheet back down and go back over it and you'll get it. The next step is to cut out these designs. Now I used these really pretty paper cutting scissors to go around the perimeter of these shapes, and I didn't get right up to the design. I left about 1/8 of an inch and made real curvy lines to go all the way around to create kind of a frame. And then I also left a little area to punch a hole. That's important because we want to hang some of these paper ornaments on the Christmas tree. I also added this really pretty gold velvet ribbon. It was simple. I just made a loop, put the ends through, tied a pretty little knot, and then I used a couple of dots of E6000 glue to hold them down. Then I attached a clothespin just to hold them, nice and snug until they dried overnight. Now some of these I added a magnet on the back because for one, it will add some weight to the ornament to help it to hang nice on the tree. And two, you can give this as a little gift and someone could put it on their fridge or at their office, on their filing cabinet or something like that. So you've made a creative little handmade gift for somebody in your life. I've also used these transfer designs to make over this adorable breadboard. It turned out so good. I have a full video for it and I will link it below down in the video description. The design that I chose is called Caroling Cardinals, and it has all sorts of designs. There's a couple of cardinals, there's poinsettia blooms, there's some pine with pine cones, really pretty designs. I used these to make these ornaments that could also be used as gift tags, by the way. The next thing that we're going to work on is this really pretty wooden tray. Now I've had this tray for a while. I love it, but I want to jazz it up a little bit for Christmas. The first step was to remove the vinyl wallpaper. This was peel and stick wallpaper and I had to take it off. It was about 3 years old. I've used this a lot. So after you pull off that paper, you have to remove the residue, and I used Goo Gone and a good scrubby with soap on it to remove all the Goo Gone, and it was a little bit of a process, but you can see here that I made sure that it was all removed, and then I painted it a fresh color. This color is called Glacier. It's just an icy gray that would be perfect for Christmas and for winter. All right, let's move on to the next project. Can you tell I'm a project jumper? If you've been here for any amount of time, you know that. I want to take this frame that I made over a couple of springs ago and I want to turn it into a Christmas decor piece, and this vintage decoupage paper is perfect. It's Santa on the rooftop and he's just so cute and vintage looking. So I took the same frame, and the frame is already black and gold. You'll see that in the other video and I'll be sure to link that. While the paint dries on that oval frame, let's move on to the next project. Now this is another piece of decoupage paper and I want to use it as another framed project. I have lots of old frames. This is a great way to make some Christmas art for pretty inexpensive. I think the frame was about $1 or $2, and then the piece of cardboard on the inside is the backing of the watercolor paper pad. It's a really durable, heavy tag cardboard and it's perfect for this. You can also see that I used my paper trimmer to make sure that that cardboard would fit on the recessed area of that frame perfectly. You can run the cardboard through that paper trimmer and it will score it. And then I went back with scissors and I cut that. If you don't have a paper trimmer, just grab a metal ruler from the local hardware store and an X-Acto knife and run that X-Acto knife down that measurement several times to cut the board. So I painted it in this dark brown because I felt like it would be kind of like a matte. And after I cut out the decoupage paper, and by the way, I used a trimmer to make sure that all of the white border was off of that piece of decoupage paper. I painted the cardboard in that pretty brown color and I allowed it to dry. Okay, the oval part of this frame is all done. Let's go ahead and put this Santa decoupage paper on it. I cut off the corners because it was a little bit too big for the oval shape. And then I discovered that if you tear that rice paper, that's what decoupage paper is made from, that you can create a jagged edge. And I felt like that would work for the next plan in this step. After tearing that paper all around the outside, it was time to decoupage this paper down. Now I use a clear coat over the whole surface and then I laid the decoupage paper down and smoothed it out best I could. And then I took a crumpled piece of plastic wrap and I smoothed out even more of the wrinkles. The last step is to give it a clear coat all over the whole surface, go in a crisscross pattern to create kind of a hand-painted look. All right, back to this tray. It is completely dry. I applied 2 coats of that paint and now it's dry. So let's get some more of that transfer design. Now, these poinsettias are so pretty. And I cut out each of the poinsettias and I cut out the pine and let's see, what did I cut out? The pine and also the pine cones. And I kind of laid out the design the way that I wanted to, the way I thought that it would look really pretty. I had several pieces of the transfer that I'd put on watercolor paper left over, so I decided to make this really cute garland. All I did was I glued the watercolor paper designs onto a brown wire that I have. I'll have everything linked down below. And then I allowed it to dry overnight. This is going to be a really cute and simple garland that you can put anywhere. You can see it here in the back of my room. All right, back to this little frame that I'd painted brown. Now, you can see that this curve on the paper, I think it was the moisture in the paint kind of shrunk that cardboard a little bit and it gave me a curve, but we're gonna fix that. I went over the whole surface, the front surface with a clear coat to protect it, and I allowed it to dry. While that dries, let's work on this oval project, this Santa on the rooftop. I grabbed several colors that I had that were also in the backdrop, in the background of this Santa on the rooftop design. And then I also grabbed a whole bunch of paintbrushes. We're going to kind of dab the paint in all the different colors around the edge to make it look as though it's part of the painting. This is a great way to work those edges in of the decoupage paper. If your decoupage paper is smaller than the piece of wood or the cardboard that's going to go inside the frame, this is a great way to blend it in and make it look really good. And it's another reason to tear that paper, because if I had had a straight edge, I think you would have seen the edge more so, but the torn edge helps it to blend even more. So I went around this whole design, and then at the very end, I took the dark brown color, the same paper, the same paint that I had used on that other project, and I went around the whole edge to create a darkened effect to just give it a moody look. All right, let's get those paintbrushes cleaned. They were dirty. So right into my laundry room sink, I started rinsing them out, and then I grabbed this scrubby soap. It is a citrus-based soap with like a scrubby material on the other side. and it takes the paint out of everything. It will not hurt your pipes. It will not hurt your hands. In fact, I even scrub my hands with this all the time. When I'm all finished and I'm sure that all the paint has been rinsed out, I wrap up the paint brushes with a piece of paper towel, and then I tilt them up on end so that any of the water that's still in there will drain down, and I let them dry just like this. These paint brushes are 4 or 5 years old, and I've taken good care of them because they're an investment and I want them to last, and this is the way to make them last. Clean them really well and use scrubby soap to do it. I have it linked down in the description. Okay, back to this frame. Now you can see that it's still curved a little bit. So what I decided to do was paint the clear coat on the back side in hopes that it would draw that curve back a little bit. And it did. Once it dried, that curve was mostly pulled out, but not all the way. So I had to come up with another solution. We'll let that dry and then we'll come back to the solution. Let's put this Santa in the rooftop back into its frame. You can see I still have my springtime design on the other side, so anytime I can just flip it around, that's awesome. And if you're wondering, that piece of wood is called Luan, and I think it was about an 1/8 inch thick. It's not very thick. You can get it at your lumber store and it's easy to cut down with a jigsaw. Now to put this piece of wood back into that oval frame, I use these little points and my pliers, and I just kind of push that end in and it will hold that just fine. Now this brown frame was still curved a little bit, so I grabbed a shim. This was a little piece of wood tool. It kind of looks like a paint stick, and it's narrow, thin on one end and thicker on the other end. And I measured it and I made it fit really snug inside. And what that did was it applied just enough pressure to push that curve out, and you won't even know that it's curved now. This little frame is going to go out on our front porch. I think it looks just perfect. I hung it on the door that we have tilted on the side of our porch. And by the way, I have a little bit of Christmas out and a little bit of fall out. That's just how it is. Oh, and this Santa on the rooftop, didn't he turn out so cute? I have it hanging in our kitchen and dining area, and it just is such a pretty look. If you love a dark, moody look, this design, this piece of decoupage paper is perfect. The frame had been painted in black, and I gilded it with some gold wax, and it looks good with this design too. I don't have my regular Christmas tree up yet, but I do have 2 small trees up in our bedroom. On either side of the faux fireplace behind me, you can see the 2 small trees, and I've decorated them with a couple of these cardinals. They stand out so good and look so pretty. These are also wonderful on a gift wrap. If you're not into fancy wrapping, and I'm not, this is a way to make the gift wrapping look just special. Now you might be remembering this cutting board. I showed you at the beginning of this video, but I did not show you how to make over this cutting board. I have a full dedicated video just for this breadboard. You're going to love it. I'll link it up in the cards. And the tray. Didn't the tray turn out so pretty? It'll look so pretty with some red Christmas dishes and some vintage silverware. We'll use this all Christmas and probably into the winter. The garland turned out so adorable. Here it is on the fireplace in our living room. This is a real wood burning fireplace, so I was sure to keep the paper garland at a far enough distance that there's no danger. Now, of course, I'm not going to leave this unattended. We will be in that room when I have that fireplace lit. I also have it on the mantle here behind me. Now, this is an electric fireplace. It doesn't get very hot, just warms up the room a little bit, and it looks perfect. I hope you enjoyed all of these projects. If you decide to make any of them, please let me know down in the comments. I want to know all about it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.